Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this week's book gathering. I'm Dori Soukup, and with me here is Steve Turnipseed and Michele Tabor, and my entire team is behind the scene here, working all the social media, Instagram and Facebook Live and YouTube. And we have Julia is going to be fielding some questions from Zoom, and our producer, Catherine. So thank you, team, for making this happen and sharing chapter 3 today from Medical Aesthetics Success. Today is all about welcoming change, how to adapt, and how to innovate. So I'm super excited that you're with us today. And if you are with us, I want you to be able to submit questions so we can get the most out of our time together. Now, again, if you're new to us and this is your first time, you can receive a copy of my book complimentary from medicalaestheticssuccess.com. So you should go over there. It's also available on Audible. So those of you who don't have time to sit down and listen, and the voice you will hear is actually Steven's voice. So it's nice to put a voice with the face. And I want you all to enjoy, whether you're reading or whether you're listening, to take the information that we share every other week on this program, the book gathering. And in case you do miss it one week, then you can go on YouTube, and while you are there, you can always subscribe to the YouTube channel, so you are always informed of all the latest and greatest videos that we put out. As a matter of fact, today our newsletter went out. You should have received it in your inbox. If you have not, you need to get on our email list, and you can again go either to inspirationmanagement.com and watch the newsletter videos, or go to YouTube and also watch it. So we're always providing you with great content to help you elevate your success. And that's exactly what today is all about, is how can we implement changes within the business that will allow you to increase revenue for service, for retail, for enrollment, all the great stuff that you need to do in your business. So how did you like this chapter? I'd like to start there. So if you liked it, give us thumbs up, give us some hearts and likes, and we'll go ahead and dive in today's questions. We've had some people already submit some questions. But I want to start by talking about some people in history that made some changes, and also from recent times who have made changes that totally impact really the world. Starting with Rosa Parks. Remember her? She was the lady that refused to sit in the back of the bus. Remember that? What a force. She just decided, that's it, I am not sitting in the back of the bus anymore. Like, think of the courage of making that change, and she did it. She had no fear. She was courageous. She didn't let anything stop her from doing that. So, and to go on with that same theme, Martin Luther King, what a change he made in the world. I mean, imagine being that person that actually did that, having a dream and living it, and making sure that everybody changed their mindset and the way they did things back then. Isn't that crazy? One person. So one person can make a difference, can make a huge difference. Moving on to music, imagine what the Beatles did. I mean, they totally changed the music industry. Going to concerts, screaming and yelling and enjoying all the music that they put out. That was a major change. How about from technology, Thomas Edison? Lights,
light bulbs,
camera. I mean, imagine one person again making such a change in the world, where he really changed all of our lives, period. Major changes. So that was huge. And to talk about Henry Ford, how about that? Put the ponies and the carts away. Or it was horses. Horses and ponies away, and started developing the car for Ford Motor Vehicles, and that whole assembly line to build cars. I mean, where did that come from? Where does that not only change, but innovation? We're talking about both change and innovation. How about from more recent? How about Jeff Bezos? I mean, imagine this guy started selling books in his garage. And now he is the richest person in the world. Did you see his new yacht, by the way?
No.
Oh my gosh, you guys have to go see his yacht. It is like, it's a ship. It's like almost a cruise ship. Unbelievable. So that's what really change and innovation, when you combine especially the both, you can really change the world. Now you're probably sitting there thinking, yeah, Dori, but I run a medical spa. I don't want to change the world. But you know what? I want to change your own world. I want you to be able to tap into the great opportunities that you have right now. But because you're not seeing it, you're not willing to change, maybe it's stopping you from changing, it's stopping you from innovating. You have so many opportunities right now, and that's really what we want to talk about today, is what change can you implement within your business? What innovation can you bring in to actually make a difference in your business, in your team's lives, in your clients' lives, so everybody is winning. And that's exactly what we're talking about. Isn't that a great intro for you guys?
It is. Perfect setup.
Perfect setup. All right.
And we have a lot of people here with us waving.
All right. Well, I like waving. I like hearts too. So let us feel the love. So it's all good. So let's start with what I actually wrote here a little bit. I have some great quotes, I think, in this book. I hope that you found them as valuable as well. One is from John F. Kennedy. It says, change is the law of life, and those who look only to the past or the present are certain to miss the future. And that's really what we're talking about here, is when you're making a change, you're doing it for the future, for improving the future. So I would love for you to go through these quotations and really think about them. So let's start with the workplace changes that I have written here. I wrote 14 different things. And as a med spa owner, or maybe you are an expert, a provider, maybe your manager came up to you and said, we need to do this from now on, or you may be implementing change right now and you're having some difficulty with the changes. We just finished our Leap Ahead seminar. It was here in Daytona Beach. We had over 80 people attend. It was an amazing event.
Yes, it was.
And all these people that attended are now ready to make the necessary changes to go back and implement. And there are so many things that you can change within your business that you may not be aware of right now. One of the topics actually that Steve talked about was inventory management, and the lack of accountability in actually tracking inventory. Whenever I view P&L statements from clients, the one thing that sticks out like a sore thumb is product cost. And it's really with everybody. Like, it's not unusual to see a 50% product cost, a 60% product cost, which just is mind-boggling to me that your cost of products are so high. And the more I started digging into that, the more I found out that the reason it is because Allergan or Galderma or whoever you buy your products from give you all these special deals that you can't refuse, and you're buying all these products. So Steve did a whole session, and I could just see the light bulbs like going off in our audience when you were talking about that.
Yeah, because inventory is listed as an asset on the books, but in reality, it's an operational liability until the moment it's needed or until the point of sale.
Mm-hmm. And I love the example that you use. It's like having all these thousands of dollars sitting on the shelf, and you ask the audience, would you leave thousands of dollars sitting on the shelf just wide open without them being locked up?
No, not only that, it's tying up your working capital.
Mm-hmm. Cash flow. Mm-hmm.
Cash flow.
Yeah. So, and everybody was so excited to go back and implement some of the strategies that he talked about as far as how to manage the inventory and not have too much on hand. So that requires a change of habit. And we talked about habits in the last chapter. So it's so important to look, I want you to look at your business and see what changes do you need to make right now to make it better. And then how do we go and start implementing that change? So I'd love to open it up if we have some questions now. I'd love to open it up. From changing policies and procedures, that's probably the most common change all the time. Policies and procedures. It looks like we have some questions here. So go ahead, Julia. Thank you.
Yeah, so a member is stating that whenever they do enforce a new change, they realize that a couple weeks later, they're back to the old patterns. As a team, they don't stay with it. So they're constantly, as an owner, having to kind of babysit the team to make sure that the change is not always only implemented, but continued.
Yeah, and that's probably one of the biggest challenges. That's such a great comment or question. How do you basically make sure that the change gets implemented and it's consistent?
And sustained for the long term.
Exactly, and not go back into the old habits.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have some recommendations?
Well, I mean, sure, some of the things you can do with sustaining change are to have visual controls and checklists. So you want to document them in your procedures. Mm-hmm. You certainly want to reinforce it in your morning meetings. Mm-hmm. And just until it becomes a habit, mm-hmm. which we talked about last session.
Last session, yeah. To me, it all starts with gaining buy-in. If you, let's say you have to make this one change. Let's say changing inventory even, how we manage inventory. So you need to go to the team and express to them, one is why it's important to change. Because if you don't start there, why do we need to make a change? And then show them why is it beneficial to them to buy into that idea? Whether it's recommending upgrading opportunities for service treatments, whether it's recommending retail products, whether it's managing the inventory, it does not matter. So why is it important from my point of view? Why do I need to do this? If you don't start with these 2 points, you're not going to get anywhere. So then you need to give them the benefit. So not only why do I need to do this, but what is the benefit to me and the entire organization? Why do we need to stay with it consistently? So then you need to give me the procedure. Okay, so here's what I need to do. And then you tell me the overall consequences. If we don't keep doing this, this is what would happen. And if we don't start here with those 4 things, then we're not going to be able to be consistent. So for us to follow through on a change and make sure that it happens, we need to make sure that the entire team buys in on it and they know what the consequences are if they don't. And that's really the foundation of implementing any change in my eyes. So you have to keep monitoring that consistency and make sure that everybody is following through. Because what happens in many cases is you do it, and then if you don't follow through, then we go back to our old habits, and we don't want to go back to our old habits. Sure. That's not a...
You mentioned monitoring behaviors, just a temporary metric until it becomes a habit, or sometimes the change you've implemented is going to impact a business metric. So if you keep that in the forefront to see how that change has made the impact on the business level.
Yeah, and reporting back the progress, I think, is good, and keep talking about it. Like, you can't expect somebody that's been doing something one way and then all of a sudden they're going to do it a different way. It takes muscles to build up those muscles to really make it stick. And that's what it is. Yes, we have another question.
Yeah, so the same member is asking, so what if the whole team is not on board with the changes that I like to make?
Yeah. Fire them. No. Just kidding. Sometimes when you make them part of the solution, like I would come to you, for example, and say, listen, we have the situation with this process, and we need to solve this problem that we have. So what recommendations do you have? I think if you make the team part of the buy-in, part of the solution, coming up with the solution, then they're more likely to welcome it and make it part of their habit. But if you're just going to go in and say, okay, I want it done that way from now on, and without going through the 4 steps I just named, why should I? What is the benefit? What would happen if I don't? Then it's not going to take place.
Sure. Reinforce, getting buy-in by having at least one of the team members involved in coming up with the solution and have written representation from the team can make a big difference in the team buy-in.
And when you empower the team and they become a part of the solution and they're monitoring and watching the change as it's happening, they can see the benefits happening as they're being a part of it. Instead of just saying, we have to do it this way, why don't you help me do this, and then see where it's getting us in the end. And I think that helps keep them more committed to that change as well.
Yeah, for sure. I hope that we have some team members with us that are listening to this, because being a team member completes the whole operation, and listening to this is going to make you aware of why it's important to really do the changes that are necessary to do within the business. I'm asking people to change all the time. I was just doing a private coaching call with one of our members before I got on this, and this is a new member to us, and this young lady lacked confidence, ability to promote herself, self-promotion, the ability to recommend and think highly of herself. And those sometimes, to me, are more difficult changes to make than operational changes, because you're looking at yourself and you're not thinking of yourself as highly as you should be thinking of yourself. And I have to tell you, that's not a rare situation. We come across, I felt like I was being a psychiatrist today. I was like, lay down on the couch.
I was thinking through it, Dori, that if she takes these changes and she implements them in herself and in her business, in 6 months or a year from now when we talk to her, how exciting is that going to be? Because her business is going to be so different.
Exactly.
I'm very excited to see where that goes.
Yeah.
Well,
so whether it's personal change or business change, it really does take work on oneself. It really starts there, back to the mindset from the first chapter we discussed. It's how you think about things. It's defining your purpose. It's realizing, why is this change important? Is it going to make me a better person? Am I going to be able to contribute more to the whole operation? And that, at the end of the day, why you should make changes.
Absolutely. And to that point, the story you were talking about, practice builds self-confidence. So it builds your skill level, which in turn gives your inner self the self-confidence to be able to do it and do it successfully.
Yeah. And you'll feel great about it. That's very good. Yeah. So some of these steps that we talked about, these are very important, actually, those 14 things that I wrote in here. So if you're changing policies, procedures, new business models, you really need to be looking at your company vision, mission, all the wonderful things that you have, your values. You may need to change compensations. I would say that's one of the things I do on daily basis. Like every single day, I'm working with high achiever members to change compensation models. And that's a huge, huge thing for most people. So how do you do all these things and still operate and keep the team and make sure that they're happy? It takes a lot. So those things are very crucial. Leadership and management skills, team culture. Those things all are things that you could be faced with as far as changes are concerned. So we have another question?
Yeah, so the workplace changes that you have listed on page 52 and 53 that you're talking about right now, how often as an owner should I be evaluating that and seeing where change should or needs to occur?
Yeah, as an owner, you're evaluating daily, like every single day. What are we doing? What can we improve? I know I do it here with our team. Like every day I have something that we could improve upon, right? That's not something you should take lightly. And you really need to pay attention. And the more you pay attention, the better off you're going to be, because change is all about improving. It's not just changing to change, it's changing to make things better, to innovate, and to make things a lot smoother, to be more helpful, to deliver a better guest experience, a client experience. That's really what we're talking about. So yes, as often as possible, you should really be looking at your operation and see what you need to do to improve it.
I think in this industry too, it demands change constantly.
For sure.
The products change, the treatments change, the people change, the demand, everything. So being open and ready to make these changes and implement them in your business is going to continue your success down the road.
For sure.
Staying educated and that as well.
Yeah. Do you guys have some questions?
I did have a couple of questions. 'Cause
Good.
I absolutely love this book for myself as well. I take some of these opinions and I implement them in my own lives. And even like the practicing, my poor husband, he has this, and I have to practice being on camera because that was one of the things I had to overcome, was learning how to do that. So, Dori, I would like to ask, how do I help my team see this new vision in the way that I see it? And then to help them get past the resistance of not really wanting to do that change.
Yeah. So sharing a vision to me is probably one of the most important things to do when you're starting a change. Now, back to what I was saying earlier too, it's like, why do we need to make that change? Why is this vision so important? It really starts there. And why is it important to me as an employee? And if you can get that across to the team and let them understand why are we going to that vision, then I think they're going to buy in at a much higher level. But if you don't share it, and I think that's probably a big problem with a lot of owners, a lot of entrepreneurs, is that they have it in their head what they want to do, but they don't necessarily share it. And I'm at fault sometimes with that too. I think everybody is. So I think the vision also is not just some statement you put on a piece of paper. A vision is something that we should talk about all the time. It's something that we should be practicing all the time. And if the team sees where that vision is going to take us all as a team, then they're more likely to buy in again and do whatever is necessary.
I agree. I think making the team a part of the decision making and the changes and things that help, it helps them to take ownership in the business themselves, makes them feel a part of it. I agree with that very much.
Yeah.
So I've got a question. So how would, you got a lot of high achievers in your members, so what's the mindset of a high achiever in relationship to a change that's just been made? You know, how would they view that?
Actually, it's funny you asked that because Pam from the Face Bar was at the Leap Ahead. They're high achievers, and I had my call with them this morning. And she gets on the Zoom meeting. She's like, oh my gosh, I love the Leap Ahead. I couldn't sleep that night. My mind was just going all over the place and so excited. And she wants to like implement everything. Like I gave everybody a magic wand. I'm like, it's not going to happen overnight. Like she was ready to like dive in and wants to change everything all at once. And her CFO was also on the call with us. And she's like, hold your horses.
Okay. So that mindset seems to be they grasp the opportunity.
Yes.
It's like, this is what's going to get from that change.
It's that motivation and that excitement, and she sees like how much more they can do. I mean, instead of doing whatever 3 million a year, I can do 6 million a year, and let's go and do it. So the first thing she wanted to talk about today, she already had her she already has a low membership. So they've been high achievers maybe for 2 months, I think. So she had a membership program that was not that great, and she wants to implement the membership program that we teach, the copy system. So she had all her 3 levels up. She's ready to implement it like next week. We're like, okay, wait, slow down. There's a lot that goes involved before you can implement the membership model. So we decided that we can implement it in 30 days, 30 to 45 days. So she's all excited at least, but sometimes owners get really elevated, especially after they attend a seminar or a meeting of some sort, and they forget about the planning process. They get so excited, And it's like they want it done and they want it done now. But it does take a plan. You really need a plan to be able to implement the change and make sure that you do it right. You have to develop the plan. You have to come up with your marketing material for the membership model. You have to train the team. You have to set up your software system. So we had, like, I pulled up the map for implementing the copy system. I'm like, that's why it's going to take us at least 30 days, because you have to do all these things.
So you're not advocating slowing, making changes slowly. You're just
No.
advocating going through all the steps.
Exactly. So you have to plan it properly, and then you're ready for proper change, because you don't want to just change it and fail. You want to change and succeed, and that takes planning.
Have the end in sight, or have the end in mind.
Exactly.
So that brings up another question. So if you do make a change and it doesn't give you the result that you desire, does that mean you go back to the old way of doing it?
No. There is no going back to the old way. That's like saying to Henry Ford, let's go back to the horse and carriage.
That's right. So,
No, I can't do that.
So you basically you're looking at what went wrong, adapt, and
Absolutely. You need to keep, and that's the thing. I don't look at failing as failing, but a learning opportunity. So you just need to assess, see what went wrong, and improve it, and then try it again. It's no big deal. It's okay to fail as long as you keep trying.
yeah, what is it? Is it Google that has a policy of failing fast? Learn from those failures and let's stop that and
Yeah.
do something different.
So, I mean, God knows I failed enough. All of us have. All of us have tried things that did not work. And
Well, sure. And
But
you mentioned
so
you
what?
mentioned Thomas Edison. He tried
Oh,
1,000 elements before he
Yeah.
found the right one for the light bulb.
Exactly. So did Kentucky Fried Chicken.
Yeah.
How many times did he go try to get
recipe?
His recipe, and
Yeah.
he failed, I think, 1,500 times or whatever, and he kept trying. So failing is, I think, it's part of innovation. You can't not fail. It's okay to fail as long as you keep innovating.
But look at it as a learning opportunity.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I've been talking so much. So, yeah, what else do you have to say? Go ahead, Julia.
As an owner, do you ask your employees where they see change needs to occur?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Sometimes team members will come up to you with only the problem. Like, we have a problem with this, we have a problem with that. When somebody has a problem, and you should make this as a habit, whether you are a manager in a facility, whether you are an expert, a provider, if there is a problem, then you need to sit back and think, what could be a good solution for this problem? And then instead of just going to your manager or to your CEO and say, hey, listen, I have a problem with this, then you can come with the problem and then offer the solution, or have a couple of different solutions. Now you're being seen as an innovator and not just a problem pointer, because you don't want to be just a whiner and a problem pointer. You want to come with the solution.
Yes, let me build on that. So I would actually advocate coming up with what are the possible root cause or causes, and coming up with several alternatives, because maybe one that's short term, one that's a longer term, but and not just a preferred alternative.
Yeah, or not just the problem.
And certainly not just, hey, here's a problem, do something about
Go
it.
solve it. Especially if they're part of the process,
Of course.
right? So that makes a big difference.
And people that are part of the process know where the issues, challenges, and are, so they're the ones that are best to offer, root causes and solutions.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. How are we doing on social media there, Danny?
We're good. We have a lot of waves still.
A lot of waves.
Yes, everyone wants to say hi, but they're not sending their feedback. We'd love to hear from them in the comments, though.
That's right. Give us a question. What are some of the changes that you would like to make that maybe we can help you with, that you haven't had maybe enough courage to make the change, or make the initiative, or innovate towards that change? Yes, Julia?
So a member just responded to that, saying that they know they need to make a compensation change, but they're so nervous to upset their team.
Yeah. That's probably I call that like the intensive care surgery that you have to go through sometimes, especially since some of you, I was talking to another member, and they're paying one of their estheticians like 50%, still under the old mentality of 50% commission on what they do. And I'm like, well, how much is your facial, average facial? She's like, well, it's about $300. I'm like, okay, let's think about this for a minute. So this is an esthetician that's doing this facial for $300, and you're giving her 50%. So that means and the facial is how long? It's 50 minutes. So you're basically paying this esthetician $150 an hour, basically. Like, who makes $150 an hour? And she never thought about it that way. She never thought about it of how much it comes down to on an hourly basis. And no esthetician makes $150 an hour. If you go on salary.com, indeed.com, and you look up in your zip code how much do estheticians make, you'll find out that they make between like maybe $20 to $25 to maybe $30 an hour. So why would you want to pay someone 50% commission and take half of your revenue, and you still have your product cost, your operating costs? So that person is basically making more money than the owner. So definitely a change needs to happen there. But there is a process to doing the compensation model, and we teach it. It's called the volume per guest compensation model. And we have a program called the Fresh Start, where we first assess what the compensation is all about now. And then we go and do all the homework on the scale, the medium, the low, medium, and high. And then we reverse engineer the model to fall within those parameters. So now you're paying them what's fair and what's right for that position. And that's what needs to happen. So have no fear, because you're not being as profitable. You don't have a healthy business right now if your compensation model is not performance based. You don't have a healthy business. And yes, it's a little painful. You might lose a couple of people, but you know what? In the long run, you're going to have a much healthier business. You're going to have a happier team, because they have the potential to make more money, but they have to perform. So you might want to check that out. Set up a success planning session, and we can help you through that change. Or if you're a member, set up a call, and I'll be more than happy to help you through that change.
So are most businesses switching from a fixed salary or fixed hourly rate to one that's performance-based?
Exactly. And that's really the only way to, because then they're not on that cap. They're able to earn more the more they can bring in, the more value they bring in. So that's key. Compensation, I have to say, really, it's probably one of the biggest changes that's happening right now, because we still have some people under the old way of compensating back from the day spa days. And that's what a lot of day spas and salons were under, that model. But when you have a medical spa or medical aesthetics facility, you cannot pay that. You just cannot pay that. You'll go out of business.
Your model kind of addresses on how to present that to your team members as well, correct, Dori?
Absolutely.
So that you're not just coming to them saying, I have a change. You're
Yeah.
coming to them saying, this is the problem that we're facing, this is the change that we want to implement, and this is how it's going to benefit you in the long run.
Yeah.
And then you're showing them not just one, but you're showing them 3 different levels where they can make that decision of where they want to be.
Exactly.
And I think that's very important when they're making that compensation change, is to be able to present it and to show them how they can really excel by doing it this way versus the other way.
Yeah. So I have a perfect example, actually. Dr. Ramos, who's just opening up a brand new medical spa in Orlando near the Millennium Mall. And he's in the process of interviewing people and hiring people. So he wanted me to present the plan to his new guest relations / manager. And when I explained it to her, now this lady was a manager for Victoria's Secret, so she was already earning, a good amount of money. And when I explained to her the plan, she was like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense. I love it. I can't wait to start. So she was, as a matter of fact, she was at the Leap Ahead.
Leap Ahead to
Yeah, she said it in front of everybody. He's a brand new person and is following the model that we teach. Absolutely loved it. So again, it's just a matter of going through that change, and have no fear, you guys. If you need to change it to have a healthier business so you can reinvest in the business, then it's a must.
This is going to be a huge change because right now everybody is an independent contractor.
Oh, that's even worse. Oh, yeah. So I'm not a fan of independent contractors because you can't manage them. It's like the wild, wild west. You really need to have employees, so then you can have position descriptions, you can have performances, performance reviews, you can have expectations, you can have targets, you can have goals. And with independent contractors, you can even tell them when to come to work. Legally, you really can't. They have to tell you when they'll be working. So you can't run a business like that.
I have a question for you, Dori. When I go to some events or some meetings with some colleagues that are in the same type of business that I've done over the years, a lot of the topic that we discuss is a lot of them are hands-on. They're also operators, not just owners, and they don't feel like they have the time or the organization necessarily to make changes or to implement those changes and then to monitor them as well. What type of advice do you have for somebody like that that's trying to wear a lot of different hats?
Yeah, get the hats off.
Hats off.
Get the hats off. You can't do it all. You can't do it all. I actually have a brand new high achiever, Rosalie, that I talked to today, as a matter of fact. She was at the Leap Ahead. Her partner is an attorney, and she's an injector. And that's all she does, and she's trying to run the business. And the reason they joined is because though they're generating 7 figures, their profit is just not there. And she's like, Dori, I have no time for anything. So our goal is going to be to get her out of the room or to find somebody that can help her manage, because it is the wild, wild west. You can't be everything to everybody. So it's either you manage your time where you're only injecting certain amount of days, or you're managing certain amount of days, so you're balancing what you want to do, or just get out of the room. I ask them this. You have to make a decision. Do you want to be an entrepreneur running your business, or do you want to be in the room doing treatments and let somebody else run your business? That's the option. So you decide.
And there's nothing wrong with either one of those.
No, there's nothing wrong with either one, but you have to have somebody managing, and that's the problem, is that because they are in the room, there's nobody managing, the team is doing whatever they want, and you have no accountability. There's no structure, no accountability, no rewards or recognition for the things that they do well, and you have to have structure and systems in place. So, and that's what a lot of people start with us. That's where they are, and before you know it, they have the systems, the structure, the solutions, and the strategies, and that's really why we exist. I mean, that makes me happiest when we take that person. That's a true transformation. You guys transform appearances, we transform businesses. So it's the same thing.
Sure. So when a business first starts, and it may be a solopreneur, they're just getting the work done. And you give them, here are the processes to use so that they can stabilize and get things running smoothly and make more money.
True. That's what we do. Great. How are we doing?
We're doing fantastic.
So it's nice having doctors. So after the seminar, I just had this terrible sore throat. So I called up actually Dr. Ramos, who's in Orlando. I'm like, I need help. Give me something.
But we did check you for COVID. She's
That's
negative.
right. I don't have COVID at
Checked
least.
her
Thank
twice.
God.
Yeah.
No COVID. And it's just, whew. Anyway, I'm going to let you guys talk.
I want to hear about innovation.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about innovation. What have you innovated lately? What innovation have you implemented in your business that was like, whew? I'll tell you one innovation I want you to do, and that's the membership model. That's like the best innovation you can do for your business.
You know, and that's and you're referring to adoption of a best practice. So
Yeah.
adoption, don't feel like you have to reinvent the wheel. I mean, that's
true.
That's your premise for your whole
Yeah.
model. And so from your perspective, a big innovation is just adoption of a proven practice or model.
Yeah. Yeah, because I did all the innovation for them.
That's right.
So all they have to do is implement it.
Right.
Thank you. Yes, Julia.
Actually, a member was stating because of the tools on Med Spa Biz University, she finds it easy to implement change if it follows along with the tool.
Yeah. Very nice. Thank you. Yeah. And that's really what, my whole goal and my entire team is to make your life easier. That's really what we do. And the easier it is, the less headache. Really, my goal for you is to run the business on autopilot. That if you have everything together, you have a process, you have a system, you have a strategy for every single thing, then you're golden.
Yep.
You don't have to do much of anything else.
When things are streamlined and running well, it's easier for the team members as well.
Yeah.
And they get more opportunity to make
Yeah.
more money.
Yeah. And they want that. A lot of them. Like sometimes owners think that, they don't want to follow the rules. But they really do. I mean, they want that structure. You'll be
Same with raising kids. They need the structure.
exactly.
It is.
Yeah, like you don't let your daughter or son, if they're 14 years old, to go out and stay out all night.
They have to
You have those rules.
There was a psychiatrist that wrote a book, and forgive me for not remembering the author's name, but she's talked specifically to that even though a child will not come out and say, I need rules and regulations, inside they need them and they strive for them. And it's the same with the business. It has to have structure and
Some boundaries.
organization and some balance.
Yeah.
But tell me, Dori, what, for somebody that's a little bit overwhelmed, just getting started, sole entrepreneur, I had a perfect example earlier today. Where would you recommend that person start to even know where to make a change or where to move forward from if they're feeling so overwhelmed with it?
I'll tell you the biggest challenge that most solopreneurs or anybody has, there's two sections, business principles that they need to get under control. And that is marketing, so they can generate leads and then convert them into clients, and then sales. So how do we do that? And when you take care of your marketing and sales, everything else is easy. It really is, because you don't have to worry about where am I going to make payroll from? What clients do we have coming in today? You take all that pressure off. And that's where most people fail, is marketing and sales. If they focus on those two things, you're golden.
And I've heard you say several times, you feel to have somebody do your marketing.
Yes.
To hire somebody to do that. And that
Well, again, they're wearing all these hats. Like, when do you have time for marketing?
exactly.
You don't have time for marketing. So my thing is, actually, we just partnered up with a marketing company that we're going to send all of our clients to, because they're going to be following our marketing teaching and doing the things that we believe in, getting the opt-ins, getting the leads, getting the landing pages set up, getting the conversion rate, and then teaching your guest relations how to convert that lead into actual consultation. So it's really not rocket science. And we want to be able to provide you with a good marketing company, because frankly, all marketing companies, almost all of them, I shouldn't say all, almost all of them, I just was talking, she spent $6,000, the person I was telling you about a few minutes ago. She spent $6,000 on a marketing campaign and got nothing out of it. Nothing out of it. You were sitting there. It's crazy. And why should you spend $6,000 on a marketing campaign and get nothing? That's stupid. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, so what you've done is developed, procedures and for the marketing company.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I was getting tired of coaching marketing companies.
Yeah.
Like, literally, I had my high achievers bring their marketing company on Zoom meetings with me so I can teach them how to do marketing. Like, I'm not going to teach a marketing company how to do marketing. Are you kidding me? So I'm like, I was over it. I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. So I found a local marketing company near us, and we have partnered up, and I'm starting actually literally training their team on all the methods that we want them to handle for our medical spa clients and spa clients, so they can help them generate leads and help them convert. So if you take care of marketing, and then you have a sales process in there, which we teach no a la carte sales. You really want to do that in-depth consultation. So if you're not following the sacred system, the success with guest consultation, you really should, because that's where you're going to generate a lot of revenue. So instead of just generating $350 per person, you're generating $1,700 VPG, or you're generating a high ticket sale for $10,000. So I just did a call yesterday with a plastic surgeon client of ours in Miami, and they're doing butt lifts, Sculptra butt lifts, and they're charging anywhere between $20,000 to over $40,000. This is not plastic surgery. This is in the med spa. So imagine generating that kind of money from sales of high ticket treatments. But how many of you are doing that? And that's what's possible. That's what's possible. That's what you need to do. So I have a couple books here I want to recommend to you. I love this one. It's called Kiss Your Butt. Talking about butts. What a perfect lead-in into this. Kiss your butt goodbye. Except they're not talking about that kind of butt. They're talking about those people that you're trying to innovate or you're trying to change, and then they tell you, oh, well, but, I just want to like, no but nothing. So it's a great book to read. No buts. The other one is Smarter, Faster, Better. This is by the same author that did the Habit book I recommended last month. So you can go get it by Charles Duhigg. It's a great book. And then the other one is Habit Changers. So you can go, and if you want to read about habits and changes and implementing all these wonderful things that we've been talking about. So I just happened to grab them out of my book library so I can share them with you today. Yeah. Yes. So you have any more questions, Julia, or?
Well, I just notice when I do coaching calls that a lot of owners don't see the need to implement a change unless something is wrong. So what are your thoughts on, do you only suggest changing when something's wrong?
Yeah, actually, that's a great point. You shouldn't just change when things are wrong. Changes should happen even if something is going great and you can make it greater. You can always do better. You can always do better. So it doesn't mean that you don't have to change just because it's not wrong. And I think when you don't change things, you like flatline. You get boring. Like your menu, for example. Oh, our menu is great. We don't need to change it. If you don't change your menu, the names, it could be the same treatment. Just change the image of the menu. Change the names of the treatments on the menu. Make it more exciting. Show something new and innovative. They go someplace else. People get bored. So your menu.
Create a package of treatments.
Right, the high ticket sales items, yes, create that. So I wouldn't wait for things to go bad before I change, no. We're always improving. And that's really where change takes place, not improvement.
I think that's a good point. Making good better is just something everybody should always have on their brain is how they can make what's working better and what's not.
You know,
It's working well.
and it's a certain culture too. Like when you have an open-minded team, you have that culture of wanting to learn, wanting to improve, want to do better. It just makes life so much easier. So if you're fighting battles right now, there's no need to fight those battles. You need to make, either they gain buy-in, you get to do better, or, make some changes.
So creating that culture of change, is part of the conversation about our vision. It can even be in the intake process with new employees that we are a business of change, and this business will be different next year than it is this year. People's job responsibilities will change, and one of the things that I learned years ago was do you really want job security or do you want employment security? And if you just want to keep doing the same thing that you did yesterday, day before, last year, next year and year after, you're going to be out of business. Put yourself out of business. You want employment security.
Yeah, career path.
Career path, and that's going to mean increased responsibilities, changes, doing more sales for the business instead of just doing the applications.
Exactly. Yeah, bringing more value. Yeah, for sure. So I had a little shortcut to success here. So be open to everything great, accept change instead of fighting it, stay out of the comfort zone. I think that's a big thing. We didn't really talk about that, but that's basically what you were just mentioning, is not being in that comfort zone and getting stuck. There's nothing worse, I think, than being stuck in the comfort zone. You need to get out. You need to get uncomfortable. And when you're uncomfortable, greater things happen because you're trying new things.
One of the things you can ask yourself is, what could be better, or how could we be doing this better?
And being flexible. I think one thing that is most important to me is when you're talking with someone and if they're just so rigid and so stuck in their ways and they're not flexible or they're not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, that might not be the right fit for you. So being flexible, being open, being welcoming, it's that whole character of a person. And that's something that you want to talk about within your organization and make sure that everybody is practicing that openness. And when you have openness, great things happen. So be positive and welcome it. So I just want to give you a tip, because this is really, when you're talking about change, it also involves the team. And I have to say, that's probably one of my favorite things to do is we do our monthly calls for team training. So you don't have to wear that training hat, because as you know, to develop training takes time, takes an investment, research, development, make sure that whatever you're implementing works. It's a lot. So 4 years ago, I launched the Recipes for Success. And every year I do 11 modules. And there's now 5 volumes to Recipes for Success. We're doing volume 5 now. And those are all modules that your team can be watching to help with all these things that we were just talking about. That way, you don't have to do it. You can hear it from Dori instead. And when somebody else tells your team the same thing that you might be telling them, they take it in a different way. So I want to encourage you, if you're not a member with us, just that alone is worth the membership. Training your team, because your team is who's going to be able to take you to different levels, not just you. So investing in your team and letting them watch these Recipes for Success, there's every topic that they need to know how to do. So if you want them to improve recommending home care products, they can go and watch that module. If you want them to improve enrolling members, they can go watch that module. So I cannot tell you enough how many compliments we get about the Recipes for Success. So go ahead and go to inspirationmanagement.com, set up a success planning session in case you're not a member, and let us help guide you through these changes and to implementing innovation that we know works. And that way you can reach the highest level of success possible. So excited that you were with us today. With that, I think it's time to wrap things up. Leave us comments, please. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Connect with me on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you. Subscribe to YouTube and stay connected. And I hope to see you at our next live event. And anything else?
It's a great session. Great chapter. Looking forward to chapter 4.
Yes. Oh, yeah. What are we going to do next? Actually, we go into part 2. Thank you for reminding me. We go into chapter 4, which is part 2. And next time, we're going to dive into the business stuff now. So we're going to talk about improve your expert positioning, which is part of marketing. So that would be a great chapter. So go ahead and either read it or listen to it before our next meeting. To check the schedule, you can go to medicalaesthetics.com and you'll be able to see exactly when we meet for the book gathering every month. So thank you so much for being with us. God bless, and until next time, stay inspired. Bye now. Thank you, guys. Thank you, team.